Before we begin, I invite you to leave in the comments where you're watching from and the exact time at which you're listening to this narration. We're interested to know in which places and at what times of day or night these documented accounts reach. I don't care if it's a veteran's dog, it's a stray. The shelter director snapped, her voice devoid of any compassion as she signed the euthanasia order. And you're fired for insubordination. The young groomer's only crime was refusing to give up on a dangerous dog that no one else could handle. But what that director, a woman of cold statistics and rigid rules, didn't know was that the dog wasn't just a stray. He was a highly trained military canine, a decorated hero, and a colonel from the Special Operations Command was personally leading the search to bring his lost soldier home. Chloe Carter lived in a world of soft barks, gentle hands, and the quiet, unspoken language of animals. At 26, she was a dog groomer at the county animal shelter, a job that paid little but offered immense rewards of the soul that couldn't be quantified on a spreadsheet. She had a gift, a quiet, almost magical ability to connect with the most frightened and aggressive dogs, the ones the other staff had labeled unadoptable and red zone. Her secret was patience and a deep, unwavering belief that there was no such thing as a bad dog, only a scared one. She understood that behind every growl was a story of fear, and behind every bared tooth was a desperate plea for help. This profound empathy came from a deep, personal place. Her father was a retired Army K-9 handler, and Chloe had grown up surrounded by the silent, noble courage of military working dogs. She had watched him train with his partners, magnificent German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois, and had seen the incredible, unbreakable bond they shared. She knew they weren't just animals. They were soldiers with fur, partners in every sense of the word, loyal to a fault and brave beyond measure. She saw a piece of those heroes in every lost and abandoned dog that came through the shelter's cold, echoing doors. Her boss, Ms. Albright, the shelter director, did not share her sentiment. Albright was a woman of budgets, kill rates, and cold, hard statistics. She saw the shelter not as a sanctuary, but as a processing plant, a grim conveyor belt of life and death. Animals were assets to be moved or liabilities to be disposed of as efficiently as possible. She particularly disliked the difficult cases that took up space, drained resources, and ruined her adoption numbers. She saw Chloe's tireless efforts to save these animals not as compassion, but as a foolish and unprofessional waste of time that skewed her data. One rainy Monday, their two philosophies collided head-on with the arrival of a new dog. He was a magnificent but terrifying Belgian Malinois, brought in by animal control after being found wandering, dazed, and confused near the highway. He was scarred, underweight, and lunged with savage fury at anyone who came near his cage, his barks echoing through the concrete facility like gunshots. The staff immediately labeled him Danger. Ms. Albright took one look at him through the bars, her lips curled in distaste, and made her decision. "He's aggressive and likely feral," she declared, making a note on her clipboard. "We'll hold him for the mandatory 72 hours for liability reasons, then euthanize him. Don't waste your time, Chloe." But Chloe saw something different. Beyond the fear and aggression, she saw the sharp intelligence in his eyes. She saw the disciplined way he held himself even in his panic, a posture that spoke of rigorous training. She saw a soldier, lost and alone in a world he no longer understood. Over the next 3 days, against Albright's direct and repeated orders, Chloe worked with the dog. She didn't try to touch him. She just sat on a stool outside his cage for hours, speaking in a low, calm, and steady voice, a technique her father had taught her for dealing with traumatized animals. She told him stories. She hummed old songs, and slowly, miraculously, the dog began to change. The lunging stopped. The growling softened. He would lie down, his head on his paws, and just watch her, his intelligent eyes tracking her every move. On the 3rd day, the day he was scheduled to be put down, she knew she had to try one last time. She approached the cage and spoke a simple, one-word command she had heard her father use 1,000 times, a word not used in civilian dog training: stand. The dog, who had ignored every other command, immediately rose to his feet, his posture alert, his ears pricked, his tail giving a single, hopeful thump against the floor. Her heart pounded in her chest. She was right. He was one of them. It was then, as he turned his head, that she saw it. A faint, faded tattoo on the inside of his ear, almost invisible under the fur. It was a military service number. But you won't believe this. She realized the truth with a jolt that went through her entire body. This wasn't just a stray. This was a military veteran. She ran to Albright's office, her hands trembling with a mixture of excitement and dread. "Miss Albright, you can't put him down. He's a military dog. He has a service tattoo." He responded to a command. Albright barely looked up from her paperwork, annoyed at the interruption. "A tattoo? Chloe, that could mean anything. It's probably from some breeder. My decision is final. The vet is coming in 1 hour." Chloe was desperate, pleading now. "Please, just give me one more day. I can call the local base. Let me try to find his handler." Albright's face hardened, her patience gone. "I don't care if it's a veteran's dog. It's a stray," she snapped, her voice devoid of any compassion. "It is a liability we cannot afford. The decision is final, and you're fired for insubordination and for wasting company time." Chloe was devastated. She had been fired for trying to save a hero. As she gathered her personal belongings, tears streaming down her face, she knew she couldn't give up. She took a quick, blurry photo of the tattoo with her phone and walked out of the shelter, feeling like she had just abandoned a soldier on the battlefield. She hadn't seen the biggest surprise yet. Chloe spent the rest of the day frantically making calls, hitting one bureaucratic brick wall after another. No one seemed to know or care about a single lost dog. Defeated and heartbroken, she finally just posted the photo on a local veteran's social media page with a desperate last-ditch plea. "Does anyone recognize this K9? He's a good boy. He's scheduled to be euthanized at the county shelter in less than an hour. I think he's one of ours. Please help." Miles away on a secure military base, a phone buzzed. The post was seen by a young airman who recognized the unique alphanumeric format of the tattoo. He immediately forwarded it up his chain of command. Within minutes, the blurry photo was on the desk of Colonel Marcus Thorne of the Air Force Special Operations Command. The colonel stared at the photo, his heart stopping. He would recognize that number anywhere. "It's Titan," he whispered, his voice thick with a mixture of disbelief and overwhelming emotion. "My God, we found him." Titan wasn't just any K9. He was a legendary special ops dog, a hero credited with saving over a dozen lives on multiple deployments. He had gone missing in action a year ago during a chaotic mission overseas and was presumed dead. His handler, a young master sergeant, had been devastated, losing not just a partner, but a part of his own soul. And it was at this exact moment that everything changed. The colonel didn't just make a phone call. He mobilized. The next morning, as Ms. Albright was arrogantly explaining to a new volunteer why sentimentality has no place in a well-run animal welfare organization, a convoy of 2 black, unmarked military vehicles pulled into the shelter's parking lot with quiet, intimidating efficiency. Colonel Thorne, in his full-dress uniform, stepped out, flanked by 2 armed airmen. He walked into the shelter, his very presence silencing the cacophony of barking dogs. He walked straight to the front desk. "I am Colonel Marcus Thorne," he said, his voice calm but radiating immense authority that made the young volunteer tremble. "I am here for my airmen." The receptionist, bewildered, stammered, You're here to adopt a dog, sir." At that moment, Ms. Albright came out of her office, a fake, syrupy sweet smile on her face. "Can I help you, Colonel?" The colonel's eyes were like ice. "Yes, I'm here for K9 Officer Titan, and I'm also looking for Miss Chloe Carter, who I'm told was a groomer here." Albright's smile faltered, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. "Titan, we have no dog by that name. And Ms. Carter was terminated yesterday for disciplinary reasons." The colonel's face hardened. "He has a service tattoo on his ear, a tattoo you were informed of, and you fired the one person who had the decency and the knowledge to recognize a hero when she saw one." He then gestured to one of his airmen, who produced a tablet and showed Albright a photo of Titan receiving a medal for valor from a general. This stray Ms. Albright is a decorated war hero. He has served this country with more honor than you can possibly comprehend. He is a member of my command, and your shelter was about to execute him for being a liability." Albright was speechless, her face a mask of horror and disbelief. Her career, her carefully constructed world of statistics and protocols, was over. The colonel didn't waste another moment on her. He found Titan in his cage, and as soon as the dog saw the uniform and heard the colonel's voice, his entire demeanor changed. The aggression melted away, replaced by the discipline and unadulterated joy of a soldier seeing his commander. They found Chloe at her small apartment. The colonel didn't just thank her, he offered her a new job, a civilian position funded by a new grant from the Special Operations Command as the head of a new revolutionary program, K9s for Vets. Her mission would be to rescue retired and lost military dogs and train them to be companion animals for veterans suffering from PTSD. She had been fired for her insubordination, but she was being hired for her integrity. Her refusal to abandon one soldier had led her to a new mission, to save them all. Kindness and merit are recorded, even when they go unnoticed. To continue hearing stories that prove it, don't forget to follow the Merit Ledger and leave a comment about a time when a small act of kindness made a huge difference. Because every life is a record worth reading,